Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
A Tale of Two QBs today on SB Fantasy Football Podcast. And welcome to the SB Fantasy Football Podcast with your pals Alan and Rapid Dave. I'm Alan.
I'm Rapid Dave.
I feel like we got to workshop that name too. Like that's just kind of like a mouthful. It doesn't like it's just kind of like SB Fantasy Football Podcast. Like let's work on that.
Right.
Let's workshop some names. You know, we'll start with that next week. But
part of SB.
Yeah, it is. More part of SOB. I mean, you want to be honest.
Yeah, SOB.
But today we're talking about two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And the impact their choices and decisions are going to make on this fantasy football season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're going to talk about a quarterback who gained weight and a quarterback who lost weight this offseason. Where do you want to start? I'm going to give you the choice. Who do you want to start with? The guy who's packing his beefcake, packing on the pounds, or Richard Simmons and he's losing the weight?
Let's do the sweating to the oldies.
Sweating to the oldies, which leads us to one Mr. Russell Wilson.
Yikes.
Quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Dude, I'm just going to be honest with you. Looks great.
Does he?
Like, he's lost some weight. And it's funny because last year you had his former teammate saying, you know, it kind of looks like he's in shape, but his body's kind of like a sack of potatoes.
Huh.
He does not look like a sack of potatoes.
No?
He looks motivated.
Cut?
He cut some, like, you know how he kind of looked like he had a couple chins going on last season?
Not really. No.
Let's be honest.
He was still
he's kind of fat in face, right?
He was still pretty
He had
good.
fat face.
God.
Let's be honest. He's not listening.
God.
Okay? Russell Wilson does not listen to the show. We've tried. Our milkshake does not bring all the boys to the yard. It just doesn't happen. But he's slimmed up a lot.
Yeah?
Looks like he's kind of rededicated himself after having just an awful year last year.
It was terrible.
I mean, I don't think anybody.
Once they got rid of Thackett, they cut him loose and they just started brawling. Thackett. No one cares.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they started playing.
Aaron Rodgers cares because that's his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Jets ain't doing shit this year,
But
anyways.
That's another episode coming up here soon. But besides that, he threw for 3,524 yards last year, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 60% completion percentage, which is the lowest of his career.
Ooh. With a good receiving core, too.
With a good receiving core, yes. He had 55 sacks, which is the most he's ever had.
Yeah.
His QBR last year was 36.7.
God, I didn't want to say it that low. I thought it was in the 40s.
The next lowest he's ever had was 54.7. He was just awful last year.
Hey, you can't blame him, especially being sacked that many times. You know what I mean? He's being
but
offensive line sucks, being chased all over the field.
Okay, but
like
you watched some of those games.
He just didn't look great.
He didn't look good.
Yeah,
right.
Like we were like, man, is this guy injured? We didn't know what was going on.
He was. I feel like you had a quarterback who was not motivated at all last year.
No.
You know, he went from a situation with Seattle where he's always had, good times there. Mm-hmm. Now, you had rumors of kind of a little bit of a falling out between him and Pete Carroll and things like that. Mm-hmm. He goes to Denver. Everyone's complaining he's not a good teammate. He's got his own office there. He just kind of, I don't know. I think everything kind of got to him, which, I mean, you've won one Super Bowl, bro. One.
Yeah, and it was...
You're not Tom Brady, okay?
Well, he could have won two.
He could have, but he didn't because he threw an interception.
They decided not to just hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch and let him sleepwalk that thing in there.
But still, you'll put it in his hands.
I love him on the,
and he threw an interception on the league.
Yeah, I love it because he goes, I can sleepwalk that thing over there, boy.
Taco's like, let me just throw it over to him. Why don't you just hand it to me? I'll just hand it to him. No.
Oh,
but I feel like, to me, I think all this signifies a much better year for Russell Wilson this year.
It should be.
Now, you also have the argument of it can't get no worse, right?
It can't get no worse.
It can't get no worse. But he looks rejuvenated. He's lost some weight. It looks like he's taking football seriously.
With his age, you don't want to be packing on the pounds. You need to start being a little bit more nimble, lighter, and whatnot.
Which he didn't do last year. A new coach, Sean Payton, a great offensive mind, which a lot of people say Hackett was a good offensive mind, but
doing
not
ball
so
grips and stuff like that. And
I mean, he's in Colorado, man. It's all legal.
The guy recording it should have his hands cut off.
It was probably one of his kids' friends.
Cut that hand, that kid, because you're not welcome in the house anymore. You can't ever have that little asshole around anything.
Not welcome here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, you know what, you're done, kid.
Yeah. So
because he'll remember which little shit was sitting right there.
I guarantee you, he knows which one it is.
Yeah.
I guarantee his name was Kyle. God, nothing good comes from anybody named Kyle. No offense, Kyle, if you're watching. No offense. Listening, yeah, you can't watch this. So you've got a case where a quarterback, you could tell he needed to lose weight, he needed to get back in shape, he needed to kind of take football more seriously, right? Yeah. To a case of our next quarterback we're going to talk about is Tua. And Tua put on some weight, but he didn't put on fat. He put on muscle.
Yeah,
like you look at him,
at like 23, 24 years old.
The big pictures that they show, it's from the backside, okay, and they show a picture from him from the year before from the backside, and you're just kind of like, okay, and then they show the picture from this year at OTAs from the backside, and you're like, oh, homeboy's thick now,
God,
right? Like thick in a good way, THIC. But he's battled injury problems and things like that, right? But it wasn't just
he's got issues.
He had to gain some muscle. He worked out with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu this offseason, learning how to fall, but not just learning how to fall, but packing on some muscle in the neck, shoulder area, right? Because the plays where he got hit and he had the concussions, they were plays where he got knocked back and his head whipped back.
Yeah.
Right?
Smacked
and so what do you do? One, you learn how to fall. Two, you build on the muscle there so you can hold your head up, right? So with him, the concern's not his play, because his play, especially last year, showed to be really good. When he was playing last year, they were putting up numbers. Now, they surrounded him by a ton of talent. You got Waddle, you got Tyreek Hill there, great receivers who are going to catch the ball.
Great defense, too.
Do some stuff. The defense there is really good.
Yeah, so he didn't have to feel like he had to do everything himself.
No, he did not have to. So it's more about him staying on the field, because when he was off the field, the offensive numbers there just dropped. Oh, yeah. Right? Drastically. And I think kind of part of the knock on him coming out of college was health, right? He had some leg issues, the knee issues.
Yeah, but the stuff he's had in the NFL has been all head.
Completely
he got
different.
Smacked in the head that day when he hit his head on the turf. He was never right ever. They stuffed his ass. They stuffed his ass back in the game, and then a week later he got hit again. And
later that
game, I think. And he got hit again, and it's just like it's something you don't want to see. You know what I mean? Even if he's playing your team, you don't want to see a dude just get drilled like that, and like he's collapsing on the field. Nobody wants to see that shit.
It was just.
You're just now you're more worried about him and his future concussions and stuff
scary.
Like that.
I mean, he literally, which you hate to hear this, right? Because typically, if you hear this with a player, you're already done. Where he talked about possibly retiring, because of the concussions and things like that. And if you're thinking about retiring, you're already out the door. Yeah, that's the big saying with it. But he looked at it and he goes, he's got a couple kids and they're really young. And if he retired now, his kids would not remember ever seeing him play.
Yeah, but if he keeps playing, he's not going to remember him playing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But he looked at it, he said, I want my kids to remember watching me play.
Yeah.
What can I do where I'll feel comfortable to go out on the field and not get hurt? Yeah. And so that's where he goes out there and he learns, he does the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, learns how to fall. Because there is an art to knowing how to fall, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we played dodgeball one year, and a dude went to fall and tried to brace himself as he's falling backwards and broke his arm. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
If you knew how to fall, you know you're not going to put your arm back there to try and catch you.
Yeah, you're just going to roll backwards.
You're just going to roll backwards.
Yeah.
So learning how to fall, there definitely is an art to it. But two, building up that muscle so that you're not getting thrown around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not like he was cheap shot or anything like that. It just happened to be falling backwards, and his head just smacked
They
ground.
were clean, legit hits, and he just
he did. He
went
got
back,
smacked on
right?
the ground. It's terrible looking. I hate thinking about it.
So how do you think this is going to affect both these guys in fantasy football this year?
I've always been a Russ guy. I really enjoy, I draft him because I can get him in like the 10th, 12th, hell, at this point, 14th round. And I really do think it could be one of his years that he can, really just, because he was trending upward towards the end of the season, right? Tua, I don't think I can't draft Tua because it's going to cost too much to draft him. And then
you think so?
Yeah, because I had him last year. I had him last year, and unless everybody's thinking what I'm thinking, like the injury thing, where you get nervous and whatnot. It's like, man, I had him. I was like, oh, here we go. And it really is like, man, this guy. It sucks to have him because he could go out in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And the day's over, and
he could be done.
No, I didn't blame him for any of those things. I didn't like, my team sucks because of him. It's like, it just
your
sucks.
team sucked for a lot of other reasons.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, for that, for either one of these guys, am I going to pick them? I don't know. It really depends on how the draft comes to me, because you even have people talking about Lamar and his massive ass contract, and if he's going to be his over under, I think on passing yards like 3,600 this year. I'm like,
I'm hammering the over on that.
I went under. I was like, I'm under, man.
I'm going to hammer the over on that because not only that with him. And
I didn't mean to derail you or talk about that.
We'll save that for another. We'll do a Lamar episode, and I'll talk about why I'm hammering the over. But with both of these guys, I think to me improves my stock in both of them, because you got two guys that had visible, tangible weaknesses last year, and I feel like they both addressed them to do things to improve that. Now, with I am more leery of Tua, than I am of Russ.
I think Russ gets his ADP goes.
I think Russ gets his act back together this year. I really do. With Tua, I don't think it's necessarily something that's in his hands, because he's just the toll it's taken on his body, and his mental state, right? Being scared to stay in there and take that hit and things like that. But
this could push Russ into the under 10 rounds or whatever. He could be in the single digit rounds at this point. I think.
Oh man, I don't know.
Late, like 8 or 9.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I don't.
Because it really depends. It all depends on your draft, and we said a billion times. It's whenever someone breaks that first layer of QBs, and then that subsides, and then you got your second layer, and then it can all help break loose.
You've got to have a high. Because to me, I'm probably not taking him top 15 quarterback.
No,
I don't think I am. Not for Russ.
I don't think there's 15 other quarterbacks like in total that I would take over at their current ADP than Russ. We might need to go back and revisit this closer to the season.
Oh, we'll do our QB rankings.
Yeah.
And so when we do our QB rankings, that's kind of where we fall in with this. But
there's no way you have him outside the 15. I don't think so. Now, I haven't really started pulling numbers or looking at anything other than just some broad aspects and things like that. But I have 15 QBs. Could I name right now that I would take over Russ? No, I don't think I can.
I think I could.
Yeah.
I really do think I could.
Interesting.
But that's where we're sitting with that one, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Hey, hit that subscribe, that follow button. We'd appreciate it. And if you're feeling extra nice, go ahead and drop that rating. And if you're feeling extra, extra nice, make it 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. But as always, I'm Alan.
Rabbit Dave.
Talk to you guys later. Deuces. Thank you for listening to SB Fantasy Football Podcast.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? you can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.